This meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk.
City Attorney Doctor.
Here.
City Manager Burton.
Here.
Commissioner Dean.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Shurtleff.
Here.
Mayor Collins.
Here.
And for the record, Commissioner Logan is excused this evening.
Yep. Welcome and thank you for participating in the City of Helena's City Commission meeting. We are pleased to be able to provide this alternative meeting format in the city's effort to broaden public participation. Please be patient as we may experience technical difficulties during the meeting. We welcome your public commentary. Please read the following tips and guidelines for the app usage and your participation. Would you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Our minutes from October 16, 2024 were received, Commissioners. Any addition? The minutes will stand as submitted. Presentations. Montana Board of Crime Control Violence Against Women Act, grant for the Helena Police Department. Chief Petty, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I do have 3 items, A, B, and C. The first one is to accept the Montana Board of Crime Control Violence Against Women Act, the VAWA grant for the Helena Police Department. Fortunately, this is a grant that we get every year. This almost pays for the detective that we have assigned for the violence against women. That person takes all domestic investigations that come in and need follow-up from investigations, and then also with the meetings that involve the violence against women. The purpose of this grant is to have one detective assigned to this position. As long as I've known, I've been here since 2003, we have had a person assigned to this. It's a very important position in the police department. Thank you for the lights. And it's one of those that's a must. Having this grant and accepting this grant definitely helps out our budgetary needs and making sure that we can staff this position. So what I'd like to do is to hopefully you approve a motion to accept this grant for the violence against women.
Thank you, Chief. Commissioners? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Just a question. Historically, the funding levels for this grant, have they increased, decreased? And maybe that's not linear, but where are we this year as opposed to recent past?
I believe this was the same question as last year, and I may have misspoke. It's actually increased over the last 5 years, and this year is the highest we've ever seen that we've been approved for, which is great because you don't see that in grant funding. The normal trend is less, so it's been great that it's more this year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment. It's a great program. It's great to see Helena Police's amount increasing over time. It's clearly a sign that the program is working well. So thank you, and thank you to the detectives.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Chief, so when we were talking to the public during the public safety levy campaign, one of the asks was for 3 additional detective positions. Is there ever a possibility, and unfortunately that did not pass, but is this grant funding based on like need or community size, or is there ever potential to get additional funding for more FTEs?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. It's so this is through the Montana Board of Crime Control, and it's based upon the state, and they take in, so our application is they award money throughout the state. I don't see, I can't speak to if we put in for another FTE on this. I know we've always got the one, which is great. I don't know if we could count on the two, but since it's not a lot of money, and a lot of the state is on a VAWA grant, and they do have a VAWA detective in there. I don't know of any agency that has 2 VAWA grant detectives, but no, as far as I know, and part of that levy too was internet crimes against children and looking for funding for that. And what we've seen is we haven't been able to find grant money for that. And a lot of those internet crime against children detectives are part of task force federally. So we're able to get a little money there, but usually that's just for equipment and training. It's not for the actual FTE.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any others? Do we have any public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion, Commissioners.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I move to accept the Montana Board of Crime Control Violence Against Women Act funding to the Helena Police Department for the VAWA detective.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any final comments? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Montana Board of Crime Control, Edward Brains, Missouri River Task Force grant for the Helena Police Department. Chief Petty.
So, yeah, letter B on this for the presentation is this to accept the Montana Board of Crime Control, Edward Burns, JAG grant for the Missouri River Drug Task Force. So currently, we do have one detective assigned to the Missouri River Drug Task Force. That's made up of 2 county folks and 1 HPD detective, along with, we work with the state DCI. There's a few federal agencies that's intertwined, but that Missouri River Drug Task Force is part of a larger task force that is actually headed up in Gallatin County, Bozeman PD, and then it spans over Jeff County, Broadwater County. And we work together as a task force in hopes of eliminating drugs, which is a tall task. This grant, we only get $37,481.56. We do a local match, roughly half of that to fund this detective. Obviously, that doesn't cover the cost of an FTE, but it's one of those positions to where it's a must needed to have in that position and have a person part of that task force, just because we can reach out regionally, and anytime we need to reach out and get help from a neighboring agency or a different task force, they have the connections to where they can bring those folks in and hopefully get more drugs off the street. Sorry, Mayor, what we'd like to do is to get a motion to approve the acceptance of the Montana Board of Crime Control Department of Justice funding to the Helena Police Department for the MRDTF detective. One last thing is I would say that the funding is the grant is actually given to Gallatin County because they're the head of it, and then we get a chunk of that money, which is the $37,000 and change that we get for our detective.
Thank you, Chief Petty. Commissioners, any comments or questions? Do we have any public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I move to accept the Montana Board of Crime Control Department of Justice funding to the Helena Police Department for the MRDTF detective.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any final comments? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Donation to purchase a K-9 for the Helena Police Department. Chief Petty.
Yes, letter C for my presentations is hoping to accept a donation that we've already received from an anonymous donor for a K-9. We've been seeking to get K-9s on the department. When Filu passed away, you were here when we brought in Copper, the Hyper one, and then Filu retired. We didn't have an explosive K-9. Our explosive K-9s actually get a lot of work, not only here, but around the state for the Bobcat games, and I know you won't like to hear that, but for the Bobcat games, they have our K-9 come down there and sweep the stadium before they use us a lot. And then with the Capitol being here in the city of Helena, we're up there a lot, and we just haven't, since Filu was gone, we have not had that. We've had a lot of calls for it. And we had an officer recently, which I'll be hopefully confirming the next time we meet in November. He came from Arizona and was actually part of a canine program down there, and he was part of a nonprofit down there, Canine Chaos, I believe, out of Arizona, and he started working part of that and put it out on Facebook, and all of a sudden we had a $15,000 donation, and it's really great for someone to come forward and do that. So in January, pending we approve this motion, but in January, we've selected a canine officer, and they're gonna go down to North Carolina in 6 weeks, get a canine given to them, and then do the 6-week training, and then be fully functional when they get back. So, looking for a motion to approve the acceptance of a private donation given to us, the Helena Police Department, in the amount of $15,000 for the purpose of purchasing a canine.
Thank you, Chief. I will hope that K9 will go to Washington Grizzlies Stadium also.
I think we were trespassed, so.
Commissioners?
Thank you, Chief. And also thank you to the anonymous individual for their generous donation. Looking forward to welcoming another canine to the family. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Petty, maybe you said it and I just missed that, but how much of the cost does this donation cover?
It covers all the cost. What we found out that, because we did have some funds in the capital improvement plan for a canine to purchase, and I think we're about 2,000 shy, so we're going to use capital funds with that. The reason we were shy is because of housing for the canine coming in, for the handler. I guess I left that out, but he needs a home at the canine's home, and so we actually just found one. Kohler Tire had a shed or whatever, and they're actually going to deliver it for us and for the canine, and we'll get the panels set up. And all the canine guys are really into getting this all set up, and they do a good job with it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's great. And also thanks to the anonymous donor. That's very generous.
Do we have any public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move to accept the private donation given to the Helena Police Department in the amount of $15,000 for the purchase, for the purpose of purchasing a canine.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Shertliff?
Aye.
Commissioner Reed?
Aye.
Commissioner Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Collins?
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Proclamations. City of Helena proclamation. Whereas lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer death among men and women in the United States and Montana, accounting for more deaths than colon cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer combined. Whereas, according to the Center for Disease Control, there were 162 lung cancer cases per 100,000 people between 2017 and 2021, and 109 deaths per 100,000 people due to lung cancer between 2018 to 2022 in Montana. Whereas the 5-year survival rate for localized lung cancer is 60%, yet 24% of lung cancers are diagnosed at this stage. And whereas funding for lung cancer research trailed far behind funding for research for many other cancers, and additional research is needed in early diagnosis, screening, and treatment for lung cancer, as well as in lung cancer affecting women and lung cancer health disparities. Whereas lung cancer incidence is decreasing twice as fast in men as it is in women. Each year, more women die from lung cancer than breast cancer, and by 2035, more women would have died from lung cancer than men. And whereas African Americans have the highest lung cancer incidence and mortality of all races, and disparity in lung cancer screening, diagnosis, treatment, and mortality are well characterized among African American and other racial minorities. And whereas lung cancer in individuals who's never smoked is the seventh leading cause of cancer-related death and account for 17,000 to 26,000 deaths in the United States every year. 60 to 70% of individuals diagnosed with lung cancer who never smoke are women. And the proportion of lung cancer diagnosed in people who never smoke is increasing in the United States, whereas radon is the leading cause for lung cancer among individuals who never smoke and the second leading cause for lung cancer overall. Whereas the stigma surrounding lung cancer creates barrier to early diagnosis, treatment, and funding for research, has a detrimental impact on the quality of life of people diagnosed with lung cancer, and hinders awareness of and research into lung cancer risk factors other than smoking. Whereas lung cancer research is leading to breakthroughs in the identification for genetic alteration associated with lung cancer and in the development of lung cancer treatment, including immune therapies and targeted therapies. And whereas organizations working in Montana, such as American Lung Association Screening Initiative and Women Lung Cancer Forum, are committed to educating about lung cancer and lung cancer screening and working to increase lung cancer screening rates in Montana. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Wilmot Collins, Mayor of Helena, Montana, do hereby proclaim November 2024 as Lung Cancer Awareness Month throughout this city and recognize the need for research in lung cancer affecting women and lung cancer health disparities, and encourage all citizens to learn about lung cancer and early detection through lung cancer screening. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Helena, Montana, to be affixed this 4th day of November 2024. Wilmot Collins, Mayor, Danae Claiborne, Clerk of the Commission. See, we have Mr. Chung online. Madam Clerk, would you put him through? You have a few words you want to say?
Yes, I do.
Please, go ahead.
Respected Mayor and council members, thank you so much for allowing me to speak today about my concerns about lung cancer and lung cancer screening in the Montana community. My name is Joseph Chung, and I'm an undergraduate student at Boston University and a member of the national nonprofit organization, the American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative. Lung cancer is a topic that is very important because lung cancer is the #1 cause of cancer death in the United States. In 2024, it is estimated that 238,000 people will be diagnosed with lung cancer, and 127,000 people will die of the disease in the United States alone. Lung cancer has a generally poor prognosis, with only 23% of patients living at least 5 years past initial diagnosis. This is because lung cancer is often caught in the later stages of disease progression, as people don't feel any symptoms of lung cancer until later stages. The best way to catch lung cancer early is through lung cancer screening using low-dose CT scan. The scan is like a spiral X-ray that creates a detailed picture of the lung. Radiologists can find tumors as small as a pushpin with a CT scan. Using the CT scan, doctors can diagnose lung cancer early so that patients will have more time and options for treatment. However, the only issue is that not a lot of people are aware of lung cancer screening. In fact, of all the high-risk smokers who should be getting screened every year, less than 6% are getting screened in the United States. This is why I believe lung cancer education and awareness is crucial. We need to educate our community about who gets screened, why to get screened, and how to get screened. Currently, annual lung cancer screening is recommended for adults aged 50 to 80 years who have a 20-pack years smoking history and currently smoke or have quit within the past 15 years. So for everyone here, I urge you to please share with your family and friends the importance of lung cancer screening. Thank you.
Thank you. The proclamation will be mailed to you.
I say I'll send you an address.
Thank you. Proclamation, City of Helena. Whereas Alzheimer's disease is the 7th leading cause of death, affecting more than 21,000 Montanans among 7 million Americans and more than 55 million people around the world. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is a progressive neurodegenerative brain disorder that tragically robs individuals of their memory and leads to advancing mental and physical impairments for which there is currently no prevention or cure. Whereas this disease preys heavily on the specific segment of our community, with Black American twice as likely as white to develop the disease, Hispanic and Native American 50% more likely than whites, and women account for 2/3 of all people living with Alzheimer's. And whereas lack of awareness of Alzheimer's disease has resulted in only half of those affected ever being diagnosed, effectively denying countless people access to the Alzheimer's Association free resources. And whereas the impact of Alzheimer's extends to loved ones of those with the disease, including 17,000 Montana family members and friends who provided an estimated 25 million hours of unpaid care in 2023 at a value of over $478 million. And whereas the cost to our country in total payments for health care, long-term care, and hospice for people with Alzheimer's disease is projected at $360 billion in 2024. And whereas the City of Helena recognizes the effort of Alzheimer's Association to raise funds to find a cure and promote awareness to fight Alzheimer's disease and related disorders, thereby improving the quality of life, of human life for those living with the disease and their care partners, and bringing us closer to finding a cure. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Wilmot Collins, Mayor of the City of Helena, do hereby proclaim November 4, 2024 as National Alzheimer Awareness Month and National Caregiver Month throughout this city, and I urge all the people of Helena to recognize the impact of Alzheimer's disease on individuals, families, caregivers, and our community. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Helena, Montana, to be affixed on this 4th day of November 2024. Wilma Collins, Mayor. Danae Claiborne, Clerk of the Commission. Madam Representative, you want to say a few words? Yes, please.
I'm Mary Williams, and I'm a Alzheimer's community educator. I'm a former high school teacher, and when I retired, I was looking for opportunities to volunteer. My husband's aunt has dementia, and I will just say that dementia is the umbrella term. Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. 1 in 3 seniors will die with dementia, okay? And by the time you're 85, there's about a 35% chance of having dementia. And if you don't have dementia, you're probably caring for somebody who has dementia. I'm sure many people in this room have dealt with it. And as Mayor Collins said, you don't get cured from it. And it's extremely frustrating for caregivers. There's a lot of depression that goes along with it, frustration. But the Alzheimer's Association has been very good about what I feel are 2 things, education and research. I started researching my aunt's dementia and was led to the Alzheimer's Association, and it has helped tremendously. The other thing is, with the research the Alzheimer's Association does, I would suspect in the not too distant future, we will have blood tests, which can tell us if we are developing Alzheimer's at a very early stage, so that, steps can be taken. And there's a lot of preventative things that we can do now, and even I was talking to high school class last week, to protect your brain to limit, your chances of developing Alzheimer's. So we really appreciate your making this proclamation for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, and I have cards. So if you
Ma'am,
ever
ma'am.
want,
You'll give it to the clerk, please?
okay, community education, sorry. If you want some community education in any organizations, just contact the number.
All right. Consent agenda, one motion. Claims.
Mr. Mayor,
What?
if I may, agenda item 6, board appointments.
Oh, did I jump over that, huh? Yeah. Okay, you're right. Board appointments, Helena, I'm recommending the following board appointments. Helena Business Improvement District, appointment of Christopher Cordonley to a first term on the Helena Business Improvement District. First term expires October 31st, 2027. Golf Advisory Board, reappointment of Chris Smith to a second term on the Golf Advisory Board. Second term expires October 31st, 2027. Metropolitan Planning Organization Transport Technical Advisory Committee, appointment of Richard Sloan to a first term on the Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Technical Advisory Committee as a non-motorized advocate at large. Helena Tourism Business Improvement District, appointment of Elise Riddle to a first term on the Helena Tourism Business Improvement District. First term expires June 20th, 2028. Zoning Commission, appointment of Mark Roylands to a first term on the Zoning Commission. First term expires September 20th, 2027. Commissioners? Do we have any public comments on this? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I move to approve the mayor's board appointments.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Okay, where are these? I don't see the claims. Thank you. Okay. Claims, one motion. Approval claims. Claims paid on 10/1/24, 10/3/24, check number 20/21/58 to 20/22/27, numbers 461 to 462 for the amount of $320,312. Claims paid on 10/8 and 10/10/24, checks number 20/22/28 to check number 20/23/37, and numbers 463 to 466 for the amount of $1,119,360. Claims paid on 10/16/24, 10/17/24, checks number 20/23/38 to 20/24/51, and number 467 to 472 for the amount of $664,294.13. Claims paid on 20/22/24 to 20/24/24. Checks number 20/24/52 to 20/25/34, and number 473 to 474 for the amount of $564,639.81, for a grand total of $2,668,606.87. Submitted, Sheila Danielson, Finance Director. Commissioners, comments, questions? Do we have any public comments on this? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move consent agenda item A, claims.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Commission proposals. Anything? Okay. Report of the city attorney.
Mayor, Commissioners, I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Report of the city manager.
Mayor, Commissioners, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Communications from Helena Citizens Council. Emily Mauer. Is she online, Madam Clerk? Moores?
Mr. Mayor, I spoke too soon. Just a moment. Go ahead, Emily. You should have access to your mic.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. I just wanted to say that we, as a body, had written a letter of support for the EPA Community Change Grant, and we wanted to thank you guys for seconding that support. And that's mostly what we had been working on at our last meeting. We plan to keep working on outreach, and I'm sure you'll keep hearing from us. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Emily. Any comments or questions for Emily? Thanks. Regular items. Consider a resolution repealing resolution number 9967, 10154, 10376, 20374, and 20580, and establishing a tax increment financing advisory board for the city of Helena. Okay. Planner Ray, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. I'm just going to take up residence here for the next three items. if
Please
that's
do.
Okay, all right. So as mentioned before you tonight is consideration of a resolution to consolidate our existing tax increment financing advisory boards into one master board, as it were. I know that this topic is not new to you, that we have presented it to you twice over the course of the summer in June and September. And at your request, we took it to each of the existing advisory boards for the downtown and railroad TIF districts in July, just to get feedback from the existing appointed members to see how they felt about either consolidating the board, as was staff's preference, or possibly, at the very least, just revising the existing resolutions to change the composition of the boards to make it more manageable. We did receive some questions from them. They were regarding generally things like making sure that there would be equal representation amongst the three districts, the Capitol Hill being the third that doesn't have an advisory board presently. And also we had to remind them that any funds accrued within a particular district have to be expended within that district. So those are the questions that arose. They had no other concerns. I did get in touch with them on a couple of occasions after the fact to see if there were additional questions, comments, concerns, particularly from those who weren't in attendance at the July meetings. None arose. Generally speaking, they understood the fact that it is administratively difficult sometimes for us to establish a quorum for these districts, particularly the downtown district, because it's been very difficult to recruit for certain seats. There are 14 seats on that board, and they're very specific as far as the representation is concerned. So sometimes for that district and the railroad, we're calling the day of the meetings as they're in progress to say, hey, you said you'd be here. Can you please jump online? So that would administratively make things easier. Also, if we are to consolidate the boards into one, our board numbers for the Community Development Department would go from 8 down to 6, and that would be enormously helpful for us. So for those reasons, we are keen on moving forward this resolution to consolidate the boards into one. There would be, as mentioned, equal representation from each of the three districts, 3 members from each, plus there would be an array of non-voting ex officio members, which is wonderful because presently we have some people that are represented on the boards that there may be a conflict of interest with them, either supporting an application or just they themselves being the applicant. So this would avoid some of those issues, we hope. That is generally the history on this topic, but if there are any additional questions either for myself or City Clerk Claiborne, we'd be happy to answer those for you.
Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Just one question. Thank you, Planner Ray, very much for this. You did mention the Capitol Hill TIF district. Do we have a timeline on the creation of that?
So as far as that district is concerned, that was created in 2020.
Right. I'm sorry, the board.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. We have not constituted a board. The other districts have resolutions that establish the creation of the board and set the parameters for the actual constitution of the board. We never went through a similar process with the Capitol Hill TIF. My understanding, having not been involved in the process of creating that urban renewal district as it was occurring during the pandemic, was that that was actually intentional, in part because we thought that there might be an eventual establishment of an urban renewal agency for the city, which never transpired.
Do you have any public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move to repeal resolution numbers 9967, 10154, 10376, 20374, and 20580, and create a tax increment financing advisory board for the city of Helena.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Consider a resolution amending resolution number 20797 by distributing additional downtown urban renewal district tax increment financing funds to the City of Helena's Open Land Parks and Recreation Department for rehabilitation of the fire tower. Planner Ray?
Thank you again, Mayor and Commissioners. So as you mentioned, this second resolution this evening is regarding increasing the award amount for the restoration of the fire tower. As you all are well aware, and those in the audience are online, the fire tower is one of our oldest structures going back to 1874. It's a symbol of the city. It's very important to the community that it be restored. And as you may recall, because I believe you were all appointed to the commission at the time, you previously awarded $74,650 of downtown tax increment financing funds to this project back in February of 2023. You will likely also recall that in September of this year, you accepted a bid from Dick Anderson Construction for $385,803, which included a standard 10% construction contingency amount. That took place, like I said, on the 23rd. This, though, left a shortfall of nearly $100,000 for the project. So in order to plug the hole in funding, as it were, the Parks Department asked the City Community Development Department to bring forward an amendment to the resolution that was previously approved so that the award amount could be increased to $174,434, and this would allow full funding of the project. In total, just so that the public is aware, this would mean that the restoration of the fire tower would be 41% funded exclusively from downtown TIF dollars. But that is otherwise my presentation on this topic. And I'm happy to answer questions, and Craig Marr from Parks is
Thank you,
here as
Planner
well.
Ray. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And for Planner Ray, just a question about the process of requesting the funds from the TIF board. There's not a lot of information in the packet, so for the public, could you talk about what that process was and how that went?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Reed. So the application that we received for the fire tower project originally came to us in late 2022. It went to the commission, the advisory board on January 12th, 2023. And the voting members present, there were 7 of them, all unanimously voted for the recommending approval of this project. And subsequently, again, that made its way to the City Commission on February 23rd of 2023.
Do you have any other questions from the commission?
Mr.
Go
Mayor,
ahead.
no questions, but just a comment. I'm going to be supporting this tonight. I will say that I think this is a really great way for us to be using TIF funds specifically for the thing that is arguably one of the more historically significant icons of our community. And it is directly supported by the downtown URD plan. I also think it's an opportunity for us to use TIF funds to help with historic preservation, because we know that historic preservation has a positive economic impact on our community. So I'm very excited that we will finally be getting the fire tower safely repaired, and in a manner that it's available for future generations to learn about the places and structures that have really shaped our community.
Do you have any public comments on this topic?
Mr. Mayor, may I say one thing? Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I thank you really briefly. Thank you, Planner Ray, for helping with this. I know prior to being on the city commission, I was on the TIF board, and we were part of the 7 folks that voted in favor of this. And I have to echo the comments of Commissioner Dean about the preservation of one of our symbols, the symbol of our city. So I'm going to be supporting this tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any public comments on this topic? Madam Clerk, any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move to approve resolution amending resolution number 20797 by distributing additional downtown urban renewal district tax increment financing funds to the City of Helena's Open Lands, Parks, and Recreation Department for the rehabilitation of the fire tower.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Public hearing. Consider a resolution granting conditional use permit to allow a general services use in R3 residential zoning district for the property legally described as an all of Lot 2 and the south 30 of Lot 3 in Block 436 of the Allen addition to the City of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana. Planner Ray.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. The last resolution coming before you this evening, as mentioned, is for a conditional use permit. Apologies, Planner Alvarez would love to be here, but he is decidedly under the weather, so you have me. This conditional use permit would allow for a change from a single-family residential use to a general services use for a mental health clinic at a property that's located at 328 North Rodney. Just so that everybody is aware, this is the general location of that in a vicinity map. So you can see at the northwest corner of North Rodney and 7th. The applicant, Hannah Nixon, she's with Big Lake Psychological Services, and she, as mentioned, wants to create a mental health clinic. It would be a private outpatient mental health therapy clinic that would serve families and children. The existing structure is a 1910 building that is freestanding, 2-story, single-dwelling residential unit. There are no plans to alter the building or the site other than those that are proposed to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act, fire codes, building codes, as may be required at the time that they apply for the change in use. So just so that everybody is aware, when we talk about a general services use, these are professional and personal care services where customers come to the property for the service, which includes things like a mental health clinic. The R3 residential district has an intent statement of providing for the development of a mixture of residential structures to serve varied housing needs and allows limited compatible non-residential uses. And with regard to the 2019 growth policy, we define mixed use as shown on the future land use map for this property as places where people can work, live, play, and learn, which include a variety of complementary and integrated uses. This is a picture of the site plan generally. So as mentioned, they are looking to make certain improvements to align with engineering and design standards for the city, as well as the ADA and PROAG relatedly, fire codes, building codes as needed, et cetera. But in other respects, the property will not be altered. What they're going to be doing is, as you can see here, to the west of the existing single-family home, they'll install a parking lot. This would accommodate 4 parking spaces, one of which would be a van-accessible ADA space. And it would also increase the curb cuts to 2 entrances, which I believe is in satisfaction of fire code requirements. And they will also be updating the sidewalk along 7th Avenue, which is currently non-compliant and has some issues with broken panels and so forth. Here are just some pictures showing some of those broken sidewalk panels, as well as the existing curb cut that is non-compliant. And these are just some views looking north and south along Rodney Street and to the west along 7th Avenue near the property in question. These are just some pictures of the existing survey for the property and the plat map, many, many years old. And here, the fun part of this presentation is the conditional use permit review criteria. So there are two criterion that we have to consider when reviewing a conditional use permit, and then 12 factors that have to be considered with respect to each of those. The first of the review criteria ensures that the proposed CUP as condition will not adversely impact public health, safety, or general welfare, nor will the conditional use as proposed with conditions not adversely impact the peaceful use of existing property or improvements in the vicinity and the zoning district in which the property is located. The 12 factors that have to be considered in determining the impacts to those two items are the location, character, and natural features of the subject property as it currently exists, the type and size of the proposed structure and improvements, and their relative location on the subject property, historic uses, established use patterns, and recent changes and trends in the neighborhood, conformity of the proposed use with the neighborhood plan, if one has been adopted, which there is none in this case, current and proposed pedestrian, vehicular, and bike traffic impacts, whether the use is consistent with the city's climate change action plan, whether the proposal meets the district dimensional standard requirements, in this case for the R3 district, without the need for a variance, the hours of operation, impacts from noise, glare, and odor, as well as the expressed public opinion related to the factors identified above. With regard to that, the above factors are weighted and evaluated depending on the circumstances of each individual case, and any one factor may be sufficient to find adverse impacts. In evaluating this case, the proposed use has not been found to have many adverse impacts. Those that have been found relate to, again, ADA and PROAG city standard issues with engineering and design standards, and would be addressed through the modifications to the parking, the access off of 7th Avenue, and the improvements to the sidewalk. The growth policy, as was mentioned, designates this area as mixed use on the future land use map. As far as traffic is concerned, the impacts to this were well under the threshold that necessitated a traffic impact study be provided by the applicant, which is 200 trips per day. And in this case, I think it was approximately 25 that they anticipate with this new use. So there are not expected to be any significant adverse impacts on adjacent rights-of-way and pedestrian amenities. There are 7 parking spaces that are required for this type of use in city code, and there are 4 proposed to be off-street. They are allowed to provide the remaining 3 on-street for every 20 linear feet of unobstructed right-of-way. They can have parking on street under section 1122-9A1 of city code. There will not be an increase in noise level, odor, or glare anticipated with this project. The business would operate during standard business hours. And we did receive some comments in the review for this application from various city departments. The Transportation Systems Department provided the comments pertaining to the ADA compliant sidewalk and the need to make the improvements on 7th Avenue, as well as to address the drive approach issues. Those have been addressed through the conditions that are being proposed for this conditional use permit. The fire department and building divisions each provided comments that basically said that they need the applicant to ensure that they are following the 2021 International Fire Code as well as the adopted building codes for the city with the change of use that's proposed, and we didn't receive any other comments from other departments. As far as public notice for this was concerned, this was noticed in the independent record ahead of the zoning commission meeting on September 21st. Neighbor notices were sent out to those within 150 feet of the subject property on September 20th, and then again on October 16th. Sorry for not noting that on this slide. There was also a sign that was placed within the public view on North Rodney Street adjacent to the property. As of today, there were 2 public comments received on the proposal, which pertain to concerns about ADA, pedestrian safety, increased vehicular use in the alley, other nuisances pertaining to possible idling vehicles and so forth, which hopefully are mitigated effectively through the conditions provided herein. The Zoning Commission did review the CUP motion at their October 8th meeting and unanimously voted 4-0 in support of it. And as far as the motion before you tonight, you're being recommended to move to approve a resolution granting its conditional use permit to allow a general services use in the R3 residential zoning district for the property legally described as all of Lot 2 and the south 30 feet of Lot 3 in Block 436 of the Allen addition to the City of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana, with the following 4 conditions. 1, a building permit must be obtained within 1 year, bringing the building into compliance with all applicable municipal, state, and federal requirements, and specifically the Americans with Disabilities Act. 2, sidewalk and drive approaches along 7th Avenue will be replaced to city and public right-of-way accessibility guidelines, PROAG standards. 3, off-street parking will be installed per the submitted plans option 1, which showed the 4 parking spaces, and meet all associated landscaping and screening requirements. And lastly, 4, all conditions must be met within 1 year of CUP approval as per section 1139 of the Helena City Code. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions of me, I will happily answer them. I believe, or hope at least, that Hannah Nixon or a representative for her is available either in person or on the phone, or online rather, to address any questions you might have of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Ray. Commissioners. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Planner Ray. 2 questions. Question number 1, and perhaps it's in here and it's just not clear to me. Will this be a residence with an office in it, or will it be only an office?
Mayor and Commission, the whole property will be converted to this new clinic use.
Thank you. And then second question was, it's a clarification. In the public comment, it seemed to be concerned about the zone change, but there is no zone change required here. It's a CUP within the existing R3. Is that correct?
Mayor and Commission, that is correct. Yeah, there is only the CUP.
Thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I had 2 questions. One is just a confirmation. So even though the general use change would normally, I think it said, produce 23 to 26 trips from the property, because of this specific use as a small clinic, it looks like it's approximately 9 trips a day. Is that accurate?
9 trips per day, Mayor and Commissioners. I don't know. Are you talking about the difference between the existing single-family residential use and this new proposed use as far as the increase in numbers of vehicle trips per day
Right.
between the two?
Yep.
That sounds about correct. It's,
Okay.
Yeah.
I was looking at that in the zoning commission minutes. But with that, I just want to ensure that with these conditions, we are addressing some of the public comment that was concerned about too many cars being at the office. Okay. And then the other question I had was, I mean, this is a pretty well-established mixed-use area. Have there been, or do you know if there have been other CUPs for homes that have been converted into offices?
Mayor and Commission, that's a really good question. I don't know that anybody in our office has actually researched that.
Okay. Anecdotally, it seems like.
I think anecdotally, that could very well be true, Commissioner Dean, and we could certainly look into it if there was an interest in doing that. I think the one thing that I will say is that we understand that we need to have a review writ large of the zoning code across the city, and hopefully we will be able to undertake that in the wake of adopting the land use plan next year. And corridors like this, I think, are ripe for consideration at that time for maybe seeing some modifications.
Okay, great, thanks.
Commissioners? Do we have any public comments on this topic? Madam Clerk, any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move to approve a resolution granting a conditional use permit to allow a general services use in an R3 zoning district for the property legally described as all of Lot 2 and the south 30 feet of Lot 3 in Block 436 of the Allen addition to the City of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana, with the following conditions. 1, a building permit must be obtained within 1 year, bringing the building into compliance with all the applicable municipal, state, and federal requirements, and specifically the Americans with Disabilities Act. 2, sidewalk and drive approaches along 7th Avenue will be replaced to city and public right-of-way accessibility guidelines standards. 3, off-street parking will be installed per the submitted plans option 1 and meet all associated landscaping and screening requirements. And 4, all conditions shall be met within 1 year of CUP approval as per 1-3-9 of the Helena City Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public wishes to address the commission? Madam Clerk, any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
Commissioners? This meeting is adjourned.